Hello and welcome back to the Edain mod for the Battle for Middle-earth 2 expansion Rise of the Witch King. And today we're looking at the Dwarves of Ered Luin. And I must admit, they are probably the hardest of the Dwarven nations to play as. For new players anyway. Just for the fact that whenever you're playing them, you need to almost always extensively micromanage every unit. But obviously, if you're good with lots of different key bindings, like having your guardians on one, your archers on another, and so on and so forth. Just because things like switch their modes, use their abilities, because otherwise you do lose out a few things, even if it's just for a second. You lose a second of time, and that could change the style of a battle. But anyway, looking at the starting units, you get 4. Like every other Dwarven nation, you get your guardian units. And as you'll notice, we have our the main difference between ours is that we are called light infantry, light pikemen, ranged combat, so light archers. But then we also have the unburnt, which is our elite infantry. So looking at each of them right now, unlike on their portraits, these are the upgraded versions of the guardians, and you can see their nice little plate mail, their helmets. So let's have a look at their ability. Travelling companions. As long as there are 25 or more Ered Luin guardians nearby, they gain plus 35% speed. That may not sound like a lot, but it is crucial. Those little, just small things like that, add into what the guardians are made for. Their purpose is to flank units, and you may think, dwarves flanking? That doesn't sound right. Aren't they just meant to be like a brick wall that breaks down everything around them? True, but also false. Gonna give me a second to deal with these balls. That should do it. Yeah, the dwarves, as you can see, you've got their forged blades, their heavy armor, their barricades, but they've also got sharpened axes. And what these sharpened axes do, unlike the war mask, which is armor, or the shields of the guardians of Ered Luin of the Iron Hills that grant armor, these axes grant whenever these warriors are striking a unit from the flanks, they deal triple the damage. And you know that dwarves can do a lot of damage on base, but if you can get these to flank a unit, and you get that little crit damage, which is normally like double the damage or plus 50% damage, you then get this, which does triple the damage, which is, oh, it's strong. It really is strong. I've seen it in action, and you can literally, each of those attacks can kill off almost any strong unit from a fully upgraded Guardians of Ered Luin units. Oh, it's scary when you let if you see these units, try and turn your units around, which makes you want to micromanage more as well. But in a way, it's training to make you more aware of everything in the game. So next, you have the phalanxes of Ered Luin. I think are the weakest of the 3 pikeman units of the dwarves, but it does still have its merits. Firstly, its ability, steadfastness. Whenever enemy cavalry or monsters crash into the phalanx, they are slowed by 50% for 30 seconds. So it's not only like there's a small interval where it's like cavalry charging into them, they can get out again. If you have an army of phalanx, and you're trying to escape them before they can hit you back, it's too late, you're already trapped. So Ered Luin beats Rohan a lot of the time just because of this effect. And then you can, obviously the Guardians are going to be a lot more effective against trying to escape cavalry.
Stand tall, Phalanx.
While you have Phalanx crushing into them, you have at least 25 Guardians are slowly smacking into the backs of their horses. Just doing that triple damage is, oh, it's so crucial. The power is, oh, the unlimited power
Stay alert now.
that these units give. Everything works together. This is a lot like in Lardris. Ered Luin works a lot like in Lardris in its strengths. Everything works together. If anything, it works together even more than than the elves of Imladris heroes. So next you have the archers of Ered Luin. So unlike the crossbowmen that are meant to do heavy damage from short ranges, these bowmen can form a skirmish formation, which gives them increased range and vision at a small cost at damage, which can very easily be circumvented from the leaderships of your
If they ask me a
heroes.
question, I have to give them the answer.
And next, compared to the crossbowmen of the Iron Hills that give armor at a cost of vision and range, or the axes of or the axe throwers of Erebor, which do critical damage against non-heavy armor-based units. These are more just a light defensive unit, which, if used properly, can deal lots of damage from further range than that of a unit of siege equipment. In fact, with this range bonus, these dwarves have the exact same range, I believe, as the elite of the Elves of Lothlorien, and those have the best range in the game. And then finally we come to the elite units, the Unburnt. Obviously, you can trade these Unburnt to make the Khazad-dûm warriors, and of course, it's always recommended to get at least one variant of Khazad-dûm unit, so you can send it in to get the beautiful mythical plate of all heroes. Which you can't all see on all of them. But if you just look for the nice white-looking chainmail, you'll see that's mythical. So then, the main trait of the Unburnt is they are the only unit to inherit the charge attack from the original Guardians from BFME 2. And it is significantly stronger. Because obviously this effect is meant to rival that of the Oakengard, the Arkengard, and the Slaughterers / Ironbreakers of the Iron Hills. Obviously, it's a massive buff. Plus 50% damage and speed, so again, the emphasis on being able to charge down your foes instead of waiting for them to get to you. And you're knocking enemies to the ground. The only ones who really have these Unburnt over the Khazad-dûm veterans against armies that have either very small units of pikes or very elite units that you can charge down, lock them down, and let your elite, and then your heroes or just elites deal with them better.
Come together.
And having
they may be near.
Veterans, because in the end, the veterans I still prefer, just because they also have self-healing, along with their unique abilities. But that's my opinion on them. If I wanted to, I'd just have an entire army of these beautiful veterans, which I have actually done in the past. It was a very fun experience as well, getting to just have an entire army of these guys, because they are so strong and they're so varied in what you can make them do. So now we come to the units that can be created from our outpost. And similar to that of Dale, this is Lake Town, and if you can see, yep, we've got the Master. With a face only a mother could love. Oh, those eyes though. Not gonna complain, they did massive detail on this. And then you've also got the view of Lake Town just all around. And oh yeah, and if you didn't already notice, we are on Lake Town. We are on the River Kelderwin. You know, we've got Lake Town in Lake Town. Unfortunately, there's no outposts in the on the actual Kelderwin Lake Town area here. Otherwise, that would be too good. True. But now we can look at the units. So the first units we can create are the Swordsmen of the day. And their ability is Hold at Bay. The attacks of Lake Town Swordsmen slow enemy infantry by 50% for 10 seconds, and cavalry and monsters accompanying them will be slowed twice as much. So again, like the Phalanx, this unit is meant to slow down other units, but this affects all units. And that really works well with, again, the Guardians of Ered Luin when your enemies are trying to escape.
Keep those spears ready.
So it's good for your archers so they can continue to shoot more, and once they get out of range, you can push them into skirmish formation so they can continue to shoot.
Here.
And the Unburnt can charge and actually hit the enemy before they escape out of charge range. Now we have the Spearmen, which I think, again, like the Lake Town of the Dale Pikemen, could be made better. But their ability is the Monster Slayer formation, which means they lose some armor but cannot be knocked back. So again, this effect only really used against large cavalry nations such as Rohan. I can't really think of any other nations that uses enough cavalry to warrant using this. Obviously, if you're going to have it's about to have a massive knockback effect like the Fell Wind of Angmar, the Monster Slayer formation can no longer be knocked back. Obviously, I don't know if it actually works with Whirlwind. I haven't tested it. I haven't had time to test it. But if it does, then yeah, I guess this formation isn't as bad as it seems to be.
Archers of Dale.
And then finally, Lake Town Bowman, the bombard ability. You may think, hey, doesn't every archer unit have that? No, they incorporated it only into the Lake Town Bowman. Obviously, the Dale Bowmen have the black arrows, but to you, as the Lake Men of Lake Town, the bombard ability. So you just choose the area and you shoot into it. And what this does is, all enemies in the area are slowed and have their armor reduced. So it's incorporating not just the slow mechanic, but also an armor reduction,
Keep your heads up.
which is really, really strong. I don't believe this ability can stack, but if you can get an army of Lake Town Bowmen together, have them shoot in one area, and if it was to act like that, you could do a Dark Marshal, where you just have it have to be 20 units of bowmen. Very hard to do because they all cost 90, so you'd have to have an entire army of nothing but bowmen. But you slow your opponent back by so much, and you have their armor reduced by so much. It would be hilarious to imagine.
They may be near.
So obviously, if you want to try that kind of thing, you can. I wouldn't recommend it, honestly. In my opinion, the bombard ability is it's a bit niche. But again, that's why this faction is about micromanaging. You can get all these abilities to work in perfect harmony, just working everything together, just as the gears. But already forgot what I was saying. If you manage to get everything to work, congrats! You've managed to do something that even I haven't been able to do. So those are the units of Dale. So also we've got siege equipment, which I haven't actually made yet. I completely forgot about them. So let's just destroy this tower here and get the forge works. The only difference, again, compared to Iron Hills and Erebor, is the catapult, the Ered Luin catapult, which, if I remember correctly, fires only one shot. It fires more like that of Ononaga of Rohan, but it is pretty good. And then the battle wagons, they get bowmen instead of crossbowmen or axe throwers, because again, we've got bowmen in this faction. But otherwise, you can still get the banners and the half. Nothing else changes there.
Yes,
The battle wagon's still the same. Oh, we need to start aiming with some few units now.
They may be near.
You two go in and die.
Keep your heads up.
Walk in. Nothing else. So while we're waiting for these units to die, let's start looking at our heroes. So our first hero, Bilbo Baggins.
I'm trying to tell you, there is something else out there.
And he's in his lovely little mithril coat. Very well done. I must admit, very, very well done. Even got the pattern of the mithril vest as well. That is really well done. So, as you can guess, as a hobbit, he has his toggle between throwing his stones and his sword. Then he has his conceal instead of elven cloak, which is it's exactly elven cloak, just renamed because he doesn't actually have an elven cloak.
But that's not the worst of it.
His next ability, I'm going on an adventure. Bilbo treks full of joy again on an adventure. For 10 seconds, he deals more damage and moves faster. So you can tell it's by the nice little golden
but not exceeding 114
on it.
total profit.
It looks the same as if it was a leadership bonus. That's a pretty sizable speed increase too. So again, incorporating the speed of other units like the Dwarves,
Excuse me, but just in
the
case you haven't
Guardians.
noticed, there is an
Finding that's
army
the
of
treasures of the
elves
Master Thief.
out there.
This ability originally in the past used to also, I know it still does this. AI. This effect will only work on AI, but if used correctly, this can lure AI away from a certain position and run to claim some treasure. And this treasure
I
is
suggest you try
200
over the hill or
each.
across
So
the water.
so at level 7, Bilbo can make you 600 gold
west of Bree.
and can also bribe enemy
interested
units
in
into
adventures.
coming to you, which is very good. And as you can see, also here says Ered Luin catapult. So that is Bilbo
You've got
back.
the wrong
Again, he
hobbit.
can get mithril mail.
Can you promise that I will come back?
But unlike Viper in Erebor, he doesn't get it periodically. He just gets it through leveling up, like everyone else, and then you can buy it once you've got the Golden Khazad-dûm. So your next hero in composed of strength. Feeding Kitty will be next, but they are part of another hero. So we're going to look at the hero of Lake Town, Bard the Bowman. And we can already see much taller than the rest of our faction, and he has Bard's Flush. So he summons Flush to the area, scouts enemy territory, and if you haven't already guessed, Bard is a monster slayer. And this is also shown in his Flush. For 60 seconds, Bard's Flush circles around Bard and scouts the area. The Flush weakens nearby monsters. So ever against things like dragons, trolls, etc., etc., just use the Flush, just use Bard, and you can very easily kill them.
You'll do as I say.
Next is toggle weapon. You may think he has a sword. Wrong. He toggles between 2 different bows. It's amazing. The kind of power I always wish I had in BFME 2 with my Elven hero, because I just love having long-range Elven hero. You can switch between his longbow and his shortbow. You can obviously tell this is the longbow. The longbow has increased range but slower fire speed, and obviously the shortbow is the exact opposite. Shorter range but faster fire speed. Next, he has his ability Gillian's Heir, changing leadership. Bard is the heir of Gillian and inspires nearby men with his heroism. Nearby men of Lake Town gain double experience and increased damage range. Can toggle to have longer range at the cost of experience gained. Let us use it. And can toggle to have a shorter range and give bonus leadership. And it changes back again. So if you want the ability to have a longer range so it can affect all your men of Lake Town, you can use that, but you lose a bit of experience. But then you can switch it around again to have the shorter range and higher experience. A lower range and higher experience.
Dark days
I forgot,
indeed.
he's got 2 more powers. Smuggle. So similar to Haldir's ability, to conceal. Try and show that off. And now all our units are stealthed. Or most of them are. Some of the units cannot be stealthed, like the Cazaleen veterans. All getting a bit of lag now. What's that coming from? Oh well. So his last ability, Black Arrow. Bard fires his Black Arrow at the target, dealing massive damage and double that to monsters and dragons. After firing the arrow, Bard must retrieve it off the ground where he fired it at to use it again. So again, the emphasis of micromanaging. You have a very, very powerful ability used to kill dragons and monsters, but the only way to get it back is to collect it. So you're sending your ranged hero into melee, where he can't go into melee, just to gain his arrow. But a thing to note about this is, it has a very short. It either has a very short cooldown or no cooldown.
He's a delicate one.
And yep, now we've got it. Let's have a look at the Ered Luin catapult, and I was right. It has some of the Erebor catapult design, but it can only fire 1 giant shot like that of Anunaga. There's a mortar shot attack. And obviously, if I was to throw a barrel, it fires 1 instead of 2 or 3. And then you can get the battering ram. Still got the same lovely looking ram design. And once you've got the bowman, see the bowman. Those doing things.
They shall fear the sight of our beings.
So that's the design of what most of our dwarven units look like in the beginning. Rather light armor, cloaks, but very, very cool. Very cool designs. I will admit, Ered Luin looked probably the nicest out of the 3 in my opinion, because the fact they've turned from travellers to looking like the elite warriors from Erebor. So if I haven't already said this, put the premise behind this faction is that after Erebor was taken, Thorin moved to the Blue Mountains, which he did, and founded the new, basically made the Dwarves a faction again of their own. He founded a kingdom there, and this is basically these are his warriors and his kingdom. Of course, you can also make the company of 13, and you've also got Lake Town added into it, so why not? So next is a Botha.
The battle will be over by tomorrow's
and he does have an ability which I will show, but I'm going to have to speak very loudly over when we do use it. But first, his first ability, Hurl Pickaxe. So he hurls his pickaxe at the target ground, damaging and knocking back all nearby units in the area. Bo can collect his pickaxe from the area, throw it at to immediately reuse the ability or wait 60 seconds for the pickaxe to be returned to him. But it cannot be used while the pickaxe is on the ground. So again, the emphasis of micromanaging. You need to make sure you collect the pickaxe before you can use this ability again. I'm fairly certain if he heals his pickaxe, he has no weapon, so he can't attack. Fairly certain.
They're tearing our buildings down.
Yeah, you can either wait for the ability to come back, or you can do it again. So now we can got Bifer and Bomber, so we can call upon Bofa's two brothers, Bifer and Bomber, for a short time. Bomber passively heals nearby ally units, and Bifer protects him from enemies. So it's basically a healing fountain and a guard that's protecting that healing fountain or well, and they are a really good combination together. But when it's used, Bofa does say a quote which I'm gonna again speak very loudly over, so I'll be doing that near the very end. So next he's got his ability Tremor, which does look like Shake Foundation, but believe me, it is the exact opposite. Enemies in the target area are thrown back and have a lot of speed reduction for 30 seconds. So again, that emphasis of reducing speed, micromanaging, massive flanking damage, keeping them in range of the archers, and if not, you can just bring them down again anyway. And his final ability, Chain Quake, Bofa triggers an earthquake which moves to the selected enemy building and deals heavy damage. Enemy units and structures in the path of the earthquake take minor damage, and units are knocked to the ground. So similar to Shake Foundation, but best to use from far away at a building that is not really important, so it can hit everything else that follows its path. Again, a lot of focusing on micromanaging, and I think Bofa is a. If you ever need to learn how to micromanage, I recommend just starting with 3,000 or 2,000 resource points while playing, and just start with Bofa and get a few Ered Luin warriors. Just keep going in and out with those attacks, hurling that pickaxe, moving him in to reclaim it, using it again and again and again, and you'll find Bofa is probably, in hindsight, if you can micromanage properly, the strongest hero in the game. If he has the proper protection, a pickaxe will always disturb enemy units. You can always reclaim it. You can always use it again. But this requires massive micromanaging, because you need to make sure every other unit is doing something too. Because if you're only focusing on one hero and the rest of your armies are doing something else, you don't pay attention to it, it's going to die and you are going to regret it. But yeah,
We were on the
Bofa
road.
is definitely a fun hero.
Well, it's not so much a road as a path.
Also, his quotes are very nice. Next on the list is Balin,
What are we?
son of Fundin, Lord of Moria. Well, this is form before Lord of Moria. But look at that glorious white mane right there. His first ability, the Rune Shield. An allied dwarven hero from Ered Luin is protected by a rune shield and grants the hero increased armor and speed as long as the rune is effective. So again, increasing speed. So let's just do that on Thorin. Show you what it looks like. If for some reason went on to Dwalin. Why? Why though? You can see there just lots of lovely dwarven runes everywhere. And this shield persists forever, I believe. Yep, this does not have a timer on how long it will last. It will last forever until it is destroyed. So obviously, attacks against the hero will weaken the rune shield until it is destroyed. But the fact it gives increased speed and armor is a way of escaping. It's a way of engaging. It's really strong. Balin is the utility hero here. He's your support. He's like the white mage, and nobody F's with the white mage. So then, generosity of the veteran. Nearby allied heroes are inspired by Balin's courage, making them inflict increased damage and gain experience faster for 10 seconds as long as Balin is in battle. So as long as he's swinging his sword, doing his thing like he did in Goblin Town, where it looks absolutely epic, with how he managed to swing his sword around so fluidly. Say he was a dwarf. Does that kind of veteranship just inspires everyone around him. Next, you can summon Dori, Nori, and Ori. And these can, and the only way to do this is to protect an allied hero. So these will protect a certain hero of Ered Luin, so that's Thorin, Bofa, Dwalin, Bilbo, Keely, or Feely. You'll notice that this will not include Bard. Bard is a hero of Lake Town, not of Ered Luin, and this is mentioned many, many times. The rune shield cannot affect
If you value your freedom, you'll do as I
Bard.
say.
Bard is literally the one exception. He is the red herring. You cannot use your Balin support on him. because because unlike the rest of the heroes, he is always going to be in the very back and never in battle, as much as the rest of the heroes are. Even Keely, who can switch to his sword. Enough about that. So his final ability, Heroic Blow. Balin inflicts heavy damage on an enemy. Nearby enemies flee, and nearby ally heroes gain twice the effect of generosity of the veteran. Wait, is this just heroes? Oh, this is only heroes. Okay, I thought this was units. No, it's inspiring other heroes. The Heroic Blow, similar to Murin's Rage, or Thorin Stonehelm, or Thorin the Third's Battle Rage. But this is also generated from an attack, similar to the Golden Arrow of Haldir, and improves the strength of your passive. So again, Balin is a massive support. And next on the list is Dwalin at your service. And he starts with switching between his axe and his twin axes. No, his hammer and his twin axes. So his hammer, it doesn't say on either one, but his hammer is meant to do more damage, mainly to structures or to heroes, where his axes are meant to, which can hit too close by enemies and can be swung faster. So if you're against just basic units, use the axes. If you're focusing on heroes, use your hammer, because Dwalin is the hero killer designated to the Dwarves of Ered Luin. And again, going again to the fact that you need to micromanage Dwalin, so he's effectively using both of his weapons in combat. Sometimes you forget about it and it's completely fine, because Dwalin is a beast. His next ability, Mighty Powerful Blow, I believe it changes when you... No, it doesn't. With Mighty Strike, Dwalin blows his enemies out of his way. So this is similar to the Glowin's attack back in the day of BFME 2. Orwin and Glowin. For a short time, Dwalin calls brothers Orwin and Glowin to his side. They follow Dwalin and attack all nearby enemies. Back in Edain 3.8.1, this was a very quick attack, which is very similar to the charge attack of the Unburnt, or another example is back to Radagast for Lothlorien. So very similar to the Eagles, coming down, attacking once and then going away. And his final ability, which is the Earth Hammer, usable only with the hammer. If you change, it changes as well. So we'll look at the hammer version first, Earth Hammer. Dwalin jumps up and slams his hammer into the ground, throwing back enemy units and damaging them. Doesn't damage structures. That's something to note. This ability does not do anything to structures. So it's the exact opposite of what Shatterhammer used to do, or Shatterhammer does now with Glowin in Erebor. And then his next ability, Wrath of the Dwarves. Dwalin goes on a frenzy and gains increased movement speed and attack speed and knockback resistance. And for the duration of this ability, his health cannot be reduced to 0. So he becomes the ultimate killing machine, and more importantly, a hero killer. So already you're thinking, okay, the hammer is better against structures and maybe against heroes because it's only focusing on one thing. Then his axes, the ability with his axes is more unique than his hammer ability, which is focused on dealing damage to units. Which again is emphasizing the fact of you need to micromanage every hero to a T to get the best results from them. Best way to do this is to either just practice with them a lot against easy, medium AIs, or players other nations. Just players other nations get used to the micromanaging, so you can so you're ready to play as the Dwarves of Ered Luin. And then finally, we have a look at our ring hero in his ring hero state, because we did find the ring, but we didn't find it at the very end, or at the very beginning of the video, like I did with Iron Hills one. But his first ability is to summon Keely and Feely, and these are the only two permanent characters summoned.
How did you get past the goblins?
So we're going to look at these two heroes now that they've been mentioned. The first one to mention is Feely, the melee assassin. Foreign Keely and allied archers gain increased armor if Feely is nearby. He has a knife throw, which is very similar to Aragorn's knife throw, but this slows enemies for 5 seconds. So again, the emphasis of slowing. And now, these two heroes together are probably the hardest to micromanage with their later abilities. Mark. Feely marks an enemy hero, which causes minor damage. For 30 seconds, the damage of Keely's headshot ability is doubled against the marked hero. So not only are you having to micromanage normally with just one hero, like both
No one could blame a soul for wishing
on
themselves
your allied
elsewhere.
heroes, you now have to micromanage two heroes separately and at the same time together to use this mark ability and then his headshot ability. So look at this last ability once we get this Keeley. Let's look next to Keeley. Thorins Clan, Thorin, Feely, and allied archers do increase damage if he is nearby. So again, this is the archer bonus that I was talking about. That damage is now removed. That damage reduction is now completely removed and forgotten. Oh, throat's killing me.
Sounds like quite.
Next, he has to toggle between his sword and bow. We all know Keeley is quite capable of. We can only use his headshot ability while he's on his bow, so it is recommended to keep him on his bow. Keeley draws an arrow and takes a moment to focus. Having targeted his enemy, he takes a shot, causing massive damage to heroes. So a way to do this is to have Keeley mark a hero, but while he's moving to it, you have Keeley prepare his headshot, because it does take a while for his headshot to hit. And that's the way you do massive damage. That is basically it's close to the assassinate ability that the Men of the East hero gets, the crit hero gets, but it's a lot harder to pull off. But if you can pull it off, it is massive damage. And then finally, looking at their final abilities, they both have the same ability again. Travelling Fair. So similar to Rune and Orphan, they heal 1,000 hit points. Except this doesn't just affect Keeley or Feely. This affects Keeley, Feely, and Thorin. Oh my gosh, this power is strong, and that's why it's level 7. Use both of them together, you're healing 2,000 hit points to your two weakest heroes that both have, even at their strongest, about 2,000. So you're full healing both these heroes and giving Thorin a major
have begun to spread. The dragon smile has not
obviously,
been
the
seen
way
for
to do
60
it,
years.
do this. Defeating Keeley at your service. Next, this ability, Durin's Air. Before I go into what this says, the original ability that was here in the past is I can't remember the name of it, but what it does is he gets a scavenger. Level 3, Thorin gets a scavenger, and all nearby dwarves cannot be knocked back, and you can activate this ability as well. It's not a passive; it's an activative ability where you can increase the movement speed of all your dwarves by 30%. Obviously the knockback resistance and the scavenger are passives, but it's all in one thing that's really strong. So, but once he becomes a ring hero, the scavenger ability goes way off the scale. So similar to Edain, the pride of Thorin grows immeasurably through the whisperings of the ring. He declares himself as 7th and last reincarnation of Durin. He puts on a mithril coat, obtains improved value and splash damage. So that first value, the first mentioning, is exactly the same for all 3 of the dwarven heroes. Increase, massive decrease the damage they can take, massive, they get splash damage, and they just become stronger overall. Then the ring feeds of Thorin's greed to gather all treasures of the dwarves. Allied resource buildings produce 75% less. Instead, Thorin and allied nearby units loot huge amounts of resources from fallen foes. I'm saying normal scavenger takes like 4 resources of killing like an orc, or no, 2 resources from killing off an orc. This ability you can get like 30 resources from killing off 1 generic orc. So from killing 20 of them, that's 600 resources. That can house 3 new units of guardians.
Get ready, dwarves!
Just
If
by
we
killing
have
off
read
1
these
unit of
signs,
orcs.
do you not think others will have read them
Of
too?
course, the main weakness is all your buildings are giving you a lot less. So if you look at like the mineshaft here, that makes only 9 at tier 3, which has the upgrade in production. If you look at a building that's got fully in production, such as the lumber mill, all of this lumber is only giving 7. That's a very massive decrease in money. So if you just move everyone to attack, I can show you better what it's like to have massive scavenger.
Our structures!
Because right now, this number would be in the 6th digits if it weren't for the fact that Thorin is decreasing the cost of all of our units, strength bar, or all of our resource units, ability to construct more resources by 75%. Also, it does look like the rune shooter is actually starting to dissipate. It's either that or the game is lagging a lot because of it. Can't really tell, but look at that. Each of these warriors of Karndoon we're killing gain 48 resources. 48! That's ridiculous levels of scavenger. And this is why it's linked only to Thorin once you get the ring.
You know nothing of the
But
world.
it also incentivizes you. If you lose everything, except for Thorin, one, you should probably send Thorin in to die because you need the money. But two, the money you make is going to be stupendously good. We're not talking about losing things.
If you run into trouble,
I'm going to tell you now, you're not going to lose much. Because you've also got Thorins Forge, which very similarly to... So, Thorins Forge is exactly the same as with... Oh, very loud quote, yep. So, Thorins Forge. Thorins makes the ground of Middle-earth burst into flames by the fire of his forge. So, exactly the same as the one that Edain had. Massive AoE, army killer, and add this with that, you can get against like a full 180 command point army, you can get about 5,000, maybe even more than that. I'm just taking a random estimate, 5,000 golden coin resources, whatever you want to call it, by just using this ability against an entire army. I wish I was joking. But next ability, the Immortal. What this ability used to do before it became the Immortal is just Oaken Shield, which makes Thorin invulnerable for 30 seconds. Now, Thorin and all friendly units on the map, doesn't matter where they are, they could be on the very other side of the world, Thorin doesn't care. For 30 seconds, everything is invulnerable. Good luck getting through that. Although, as you can see, it does not affect heroes, it does not affect structures, it does not affect siege equipment, it only affects units.
Axe or sword?
So,
It's your weapon
yeah.
of choice.
Obviously, Thorin in this form doesn't care too much about things, as you could guess from his emotions, or his emotional state in the Found a Hobbit film. He really didn't care about anyone. They were he was their king, and that was it. But obviously, he would protect his own if possible with the power of the ring. And finally, the gleam of the Arkenstone. Inside the Arkenstone kindles the hope in the heart of Thorin's dwarves and inspires fear in the heart of his adversaries. Nearby enemy units are temporarily stunned, while ally units gain increased damage.
A favour for a favour.
Now then, let's just move everyone in, and I'll show you this power, because
You can listen to this naysayer.
there are many mods I've played where the gleam of the Arkenstone is an ability, or something like it is an ability for Thorin, which is very strong. It's meant to, so like in Battle of the Third Age mod, you've got it. He's got his Duvercar ability, which gives everyone invulnerability, everyone massive damage. Thorin does this perfectly, but he also has the added benefit of making resources just come out of the ground, like literally. Oh yeah, and structures give about 600 each. So yeah, good luck. You're never gonna lose with Thorin Oaken Shield at your side. Just use this, see if they can reach that them from here. It can't, but look at the damage it just did to those walls. That's some pretty decent damage for an ability that's not meant to be used against
did you get past
the buildings. It's pretty good. And so now let's look at Gleam of the Arkenstone. Look at where Thorin is right now.
Tales you told us.
And that is that. I believe before this ability, I can't remember what his level 10 ability was before this.
Has come to
I have
me.
to make sure I show it off in the hero overview. Basically, this is everything for the dwarves of Ered Luin. Like the dwarves of Erebor and Iron Hills, all their powers are exactly the same. No difference whatsoever. The horn doesn't sound different, your lone towers don't change, nothing changes. Gandalf isn't different. All that's different is everything else in the faction. And I must admit, the dwarves altogether are, as they always have been, hardy folk that refuse to die. So I do hope you've all enjoyed this little mini-series through the week. Just going through each of the Dwarven nations. We'll be finishing off in the weekend with 2 videos each of the remaining overviews. The first 2 will be Mordor and Isengard, and the last 2 will be the rivals Angmar and Arnor. So,
Simple
trying to
merchants.
show off as many powers as possible.
We still have time.
And now it's time to get all the dwarves out.
What's it to you?
Prepare for loud noises. Here we go, Sofa.
Because we were supposed to be in Dunland last Tuesday.
And you can see we've got every one of the 13 dwarves in our company right now. We've got Dory, Biffa, Glowin, Morwin, Nori, Ori, Bomber. We've got German quotes. Healy, Feely, Bofa, Dwalin, Barlin, and Borin. All 13 dwarves of Thorins Company are together. So then, that was definitely a fun thing. So if you enjoy the Hobbit films and like showing off all 13 dwarves together, I do recommend the Dwarves of Ered Luin. But again, if you want to play them competitively, if anyone still plays Edain competitively, I do recommend learning to micromanage, because this faction, when it learns to properly micromanage, is almost unbeatable. I've seen it in action. It is scary. So, as I said, next time will be Mordor, then will be Isengard, and then Angmar, and then we're showing off the sub-faction of Gondor, the Kingdom of Arnor. And the first time with Mordor, we'll be fighting against Gondor. So I hope you all enjoyed. Leave a like if you did. Subscribe. Keep updated by clicking the bell so you can see future uploads. Now I'll see you all next time. Farewell.